Hello, everyone. It is Sunday, August 11th, and it is Throwing Light, and I'm your host, LTJ Reeves. And if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. Tonight, we are going over to the UK again. We're going to the town of Brighton, which I had the opportunity of meeting our next guest as I did some modeling for him. Let's go ahead and get this started. Before we get started, remember, this is a collaboration with Asheville ATX. I always promote them. They're a wonderful organization in our community that helps provide us with the services that we need: mental health services, health services. They even have a food bank. If you want to help this community thrive, please, if you can, throw a donation towards Asheville. You can visit them at ashevilleatx.org. Now let's get it started. Pierre, how's it going?
Oh, good. Oh, good. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Of course, this is course. So, Pierre, we met when I was in the UK back in March of 2023. I had the honor of taking the train from London down to Brighton to meet you and get to be around your artistic talents for a little bit. Why don't you tell everybody who you are and where you're from?
Okay. So thanks for the kind words. My name is Pierre. I'm a photographer. I photograph 99% men, and I also run an ethical t-shirt brand called Unapologaytic, for which you modeled. And I'm French, but I live in Brighton, in the UK. I've been there actually last weekend was my 17th anniversary living in Brighton.
17th anniversary. And
Yep.
we got to, you got to when I went there, we talked a little bit about Brighton, but Brighton's a very, you said, very open-minded place, and it's very friendly towards the LGBT population, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like the English San Francisco. So there's a really strong LGBTQ presence. Last weekend was the Pride here, and it's the biggest in the UK.
Oh, really? What's it like?
Yeah. So in the morning there's a parade, and then there's a big park in Brighton that is closed off, and then you buy a ticket and then you go there. It's like a festival, really. So in the afternoon on the Saturday, there are lots of tents when you go partying and stuff like that. So and then in the evening, usually there are quite big acts that come and sing. So that's what makes it a bit of a festival. And then on the Sunday, also there are still more artists and drag shows, and it's more a day for like associations and communities to connect with people.
So we'll come back to that, but as an artist, now you are originally from a French-speaking country. You are from.
Yeah, I was born in Paris, but I grew up between Paris and Martinique, which is a French island in the Caribbean.
Okay, all right. And what are the differences between the two, if you wouldn't mind trying to give us an idea of the cultures?
Oh, well, first of all, I come from a republic, and here is a monarchy, so that's a big difference. And it's a different way of seeing the world. I mean, the what makes the um it's just two different countries, two different cultures. What Yeah, I think that I can't really. It's such a vague question that just to answer is what makes it different? Um, the food is very different. Uh, and what else? Oh, also in terms of economics and society, for example, here is really neoliberal, whereas in France and on the continent in general, it's a lot less neoliberal.
So
Does
it
that make sense?
so let's go back to Brighton. Brighton's very open-minded, right? Okay, so
Yes, yeah.
when did you move to Brighton?
I moved in 2007.
And that was from where?
I
Paris?
lived in London. So
Okay.
no. So I had just moved in from Berlin, and then first moved to London, and then um, my ex-husband at the time, we decided to buy a flat together, and we couldn't afford buying anywhere in London. And then I thought, okay, well, I like Brighton anyway, and it's a lot cheaper there, so let's go. That's why we ended up here.
Well, that's good to know if I want to move there, that Brighton is going to be more in my price range. That's good to know. So, okay, so we had talked about the topic of being, talking about queer French art. How do we see French art come from you being in the UK? Like, how are you influencing? How do you see yourself as an artist of French influence in Brighton?
Mm. I don't necessarily speak about or talk about myself as French. I think more about uh, a gay foreigner, a black gay foreigner in a country. More so, my nationality to me is not really relevant. It's
Okay.
just that obviously I have an accent and that's part of my identity. But I'm the way I translate it is more about being a foreigner. That it's more about being that than being French.
So is that what you experience? Like,
Yeah, yeah. But it's a really actually I'm being treated really well.
okay.
It's not a bad thing. It's just that I don't it and that's why I love living here. It's just that I'm a bit of a fish out of water in a way.
You like that. You like the feeling of being the fish
Yeah,
out of water? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So when did you get into photography?
Oh, uh, so the first time I had an image in my mind was when I found my father's books on how to process film and print photography, and I was 13. So that was about 10 years ago.
What was it 10 years ago? Okay. So but what kind of photography were you first exposed to?
So at first, I was really into, it was in the early 90s. So it was all about that was when the top models were superstars. So there were sort of fashion editorials everywhere. So that's what I paid attention to the most. Then when I started taking photos, then I was doing city landscape. So because I lived in a really sort of futuristic area of Paris, and that inspired me a lot. And then I decided to take photos of. Oh, actually, when I was 13 years old, then I walked into a bookshop and literally met a book by Robert Mapplethorpe called The Black Book, and that really transformed my life because when I saw that book, it's a book of male nudes, and all the models are black. For those who don't know. And I had never been so shocked and turned on at the same time. And I remember thinking, oh my God, if I just can create that emotion into one person seeing my photos, my life is complete. So um, yeah, I think that's the. Then I didn't take photos of a man or of until I was 20 or something like that. But then I've never stopped since.
So, before we get into so what are your favorite things to photograph? What do you enjoy the most? What do you get excited about the most when you're doing photography? And I even have, just before
So,
you say that, I still have the
oh yeah. So I like shooting the male form. So that I love playing with light on the male form. And I also like staged images. where I sort of really express myself. So it's a bit more like storytelling and kind of I express myself in a different way because it's staged. So it's something that is really dear to my heart. And I think I enjoy both equally. It's just that the staged imagery. So for example, the one what I'm talking about is there is um, series of images called Objectified. And based on my experience of being objectified as a black man in the UK.
Now,
So there was
objectified as a
one, yeah,
can you
as
elaborate?
a black man.
Can you elaborate on that part? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So usually is always about the size of my dick. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, you okay.
Yes. There's no
So it's
censorship.
about it's about, you know, the sort of when that happens to me, I always feel reduced to an animal because that takes away all, in my opinion, that's how I see it. It's not about wanting to know me. It's just about somebody wanting a black dick. So it just happens to be me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, it makes sense. That's a thing here in the US too. Trust me. In the
Oh yeah,
South,
yeah, I believe
no.
that's yeah.
There people are like that in the South. Yeah.
Yeah. So but also it doesn't make me a victim because, you know, I really believe that this is the world we live in. Everybody is on apps. Everybody's, you know, everybody has, you know, the last 30 years of consumerism and, you know, capitalism. So we don't really see each other as human beings anymore. We just see each other as, you know, this is my fantasy. You're gonna play a part in it. I don't care who you are. Do your just do your part, and then I don't need to know you. That's, you know, most of, you know, sex is really transactional. Not always, but it feels like, you know, when in those cases where I feel objectified is really, you know, a transaction.
Do you feel that
But
art is a way to capture that objectification into like a long term like reward? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Like
what what do you mean by reward?
so reward might not be the word, but like as an established piece of authentic art, you can take the male form that might not be accepted by culture and put it in a different element, and then it's accepted by culture, right? You play with the characteristics
Mm.
of it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just with art, to me, like let's say you know did an artistry of a penis or something, and that penis would have a different value depending on what culture you're in, correct?
Yeah.
So, as an artist, do you find that your artistry goes up against the culture that you are in sometimes? That you are,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's so is the environment in which my art is being received.
Mm.
So in a way, so I mean the way I see it is that it's like I speak a language. So I have to make sure that I'm understood.
Through how do you, when you're doing photography, what do you think is like your prominent style, or what do you like to focus on the most when you're doing photography? What part of the body, or if there's not people, you know, scenery, like what really gets you focused, zoomed in on something?
Um, so usually if I take photos of people, then I try to capture both them as they are as much as possible, and also to have my style of lighting, which is usually very contrasty and sort of is very moody. That's the thing. And there is a sort there is an artist who really inspires me. It's called Jim French, and he was the founder, I believe, and the photographer for Cult, the gay studios. And um, I love the sort of joy that the models I see in the models. They're sort of, they're really sexy, but they feel so uh I see some innocence in them, in the way they carry themselves and the way they interact with themselves. It's just that, they're really playful. So I really like that kind. I'd like to recreate that kind of atmosphere in my photos.
Let's talk a little bit about apologazing. This
Yes.
so when I met you, I got this from you, but let's talk a little bit about the Meet Sebastian, that project that you were working. How's that?
Yeah. So I love the fact that San Sebastian is a is a saint, but a gay icon as well, or a queer icon. I mean, I just find that mind-boggling. Uh, and I know that, so he was a soldier who was killed, um, and he was actually, I will let you read his whole life story.
Well, yeah,
But what because he's in the zine anyway. But the way he became a real icon because he's always depicted as a victim. And he's always this young, beautiful man, always, always the victim. So I thought, right, what if he fought back? What if he can be queer and happy and in charge? So that's what I wanted to portray.
that's awesome. So I've got an opportunity to also your t-shirts. Let's talk a little bit about that and how those things kind of come together. Because that, and I'm not good with saying it, it's unapologetic, gatic,
Gatic, yeah,
apologetic. So how did you come up
unapologetic for
with, how
gay
did
men.
that idea come about?
So I had a day job before. I was a flight attendant, and I had just studied some design, some studies of industrial design, because I retrained while I was uh, doing flight attendant. Then when my studies finished, I thought, right, so what am I going to do with it? And then I was in Boston on Labor Day weekend. I went out to a club with a colleague, and then I saw lots of men wearing gay t-shirts, with slogans and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, I could do that. I could do something like that. But I really want to use those slogans to promote self-esteem and self-acceptance because when I grew up, there were maybe a couple of people in my family who were deeply ashamed of being Black.
Being Black.
And they wasted so much energy trying to prove to themselves that they were as good as white people.
Uh,
Um, and then when I came out and I started spending time around gay men, I recognized that feeling of self-loathing, internalized homophobia. I mean, to me, it's the same mechanism, and there was the same hierarchy. So, for example, there is colorism uh, among Black people.
mhm.
So that sort of hierarchy where effeminate men are looked down upon. Um, to me, it was the same thing as internalized racism, where we internalize the criteria of the people who oppress us. So, for example, we are being made to be ashamed of who we are as gay men. So I thought, no, I really want to use that as a way to promote the idea that we are good enough, we are who we are, and you don't need to be, to present masculine. You don't need to, whoever you are, you. This is how you're meant to be. This is who you're meant to be. So I wanted to promote that.
So how long have you been doing that?
In June was the seventh year.
How many different
Yeah.
t-shirt designs have you done?
I think maybe not that many actually. It's about maybe 50 or 55, I think. So it's really not that many.
It sounds like a lot to me, someone that can barely make one. So so where is your future as an artist focused on right now?
So I really realize now that everything I'm doing revolves around the experience of being me as a gay man. And a friend of mine put it very eloquently. He said, everything I do is a celebration of cock. So I keep taking photos of men. I'll keep doing t-shirts that promote, self-acceptance and, but with humor. And I'll do some more staged photos that really represent my vision of, well, it's my experience of life. So because it's my experience, it will be urban gay lifestyle
Yeah.
from a Black man's point of view.
What's it like being a person of color? Because I'm a Black person in the United States, and we go through
Mm,
the same. I mean, racism is a part of the day. It's hard waking up every day knowing that you might be discriminated at some point throughout your day just because of the color of your skin and stuff like that.
mm.
But I find that art is a great way for us to put our anxieties into it that bother us and manifest them through culture. What is something that you have done artistically where you think maybe it has overcome race and you're transcending race with your ideas?
Um, well, actually, my latest project, Objectified, because I really think, even though it's my experience, but this is the world we live in. So in that project, I really make a point to show there are, obviously that there is a photo of me, but there are also photos of a white man and an Asian man. So what I'm trying to prove by that is that it's a universal thing. It's only my point, the starting point of this project is my experience, but the intention is to take a snapshot of society. So there is everybody, so it affects everybody. I don't know if that answers your question,
It
but
does answer a snapshot of society. That's yeah, exactly. In Brighton, how has race played a part of your life?
It's so chilled here, really. It's in the 17 years I've lived here, I've never experienced racism ever.
That's crazy. That's amazing. That's a
Mm.
wonderful thing to hear. Let me put it like that. Because we have it
Yeah,
all.
no, it's unbelievable.
Racism
Yeah.
sells in the United States. So
Mm. So, I'm let me be clear. I've never experienced it. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Huh?
correct.
It's
Yeah.
just that I haven't experienced it. And I really believe that because of that, it keeps me in a sort of virtuous cycle, because I know it exists, but I don't experience it. So I don't look for it.
That makes
So,
sense.
so I don't, so, and over time, there's hardly any anxiety left because uh, I know it's there. I deal with it when I see it, but why worry about something that I haven't seen?
That makes sense. All right, so Pierre, when we get towards the end of the show on Throwing Light, I always ask everybody the same question. So, being focusing on community and doing things that are important. We talked about several things. We talked about art, photography, we talked about racism, colorism. Is there any aspect of the community that you think that we don't shed enough light on that you think that we should talk about more?
Um, Maybe the community aspect. We have this, I mean, obviously I don't know your community, but I feel like there is this narrative, or at least I have this narrative that it was better before. But no, it was better before in terms of community, and we thought um, we I feel like we helped each other a bit more than now, where again, I feel like everything is so much more, it's really transactional now, instead of just getting together for the sake of it. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's the idea is to sort of, you know, talk more about the positive rather than what separates us. Or I think that's that we don't talk enough about the positive things.
Do you think that we need to focus on our triumphs a lot more than our losses? Like we don't talk about the good things that are going on.
Yeah, yeah, and also really sort of promote each other.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So that's what I meant by the community, is really to sort of um I think that would start overcoming that separation within the community.
Yeah. There is quite some separation within the community. All right,
Mm.
Pierre, that comes to the end of the interview. I hope that you're going to keep me in mind. I'm around. I might be across the sea, but I would love to be involved with anything that you're working on. I think you're a fantastic artist.
Yes,
I
please.
want people to follow you too. I'm going to be posting this interview on Instagram. I will tag you in it so that you may share it and
Yes,
see if I
please.
can give it to you. But that's it for today, Pierre. Thank you so much for giving me your time and staying up to do this
Thank
interview.
you for
Probably
having
like
me.
7 hours ahead of me. But if that brings us to the end, y'all, and if you are not throwing lights, you are not acting right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pierre.